things have gotten a little better, at least for me. I don't know for everybody else, but I feel like I still feel that there is an issue with helping people as far as how the space is, like how, like, especially in BPod, because it's so big. It's hard to like keep track of what's going on. But for the most part, I feel like it's gotten better now that we have floats more often.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, our staffing numbers are definitely getting a little bit better, I think.
yeah.
Um, do you have, I don't know how Dun 4 was set up. You came from Dun 4, right?
Yeah.
Did they have like pod style nursing,
No.
but the rooms
So,
were smaller and closer?
yeah. So, have you been to like Walter 19 or 20? Or been anywhere else?
Yeah, I've been to 19 and
It's
20.
Yeah, so the floor is similar to that, except for it's not as big. That floor is, similar to our floor in the way it's designed, but the rooms are just next to each other, and then there's a middle nurses station. And so you have the long hallways, and then the back hallway, there's like one room here and one room here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're in the middle of the hallway is the medication room, then the nurses station. So each room is next to each other. So typically you can get assigned the like patients 1, 4, and 5, and like 7. So your
Mm-hmm.
patients are kind of close to each other. And so there might be a nurse sharing in between you. So if you need like a sign off or something,
They're more accessible.
but our PCAs are a lot more helpful on the floor than they are in the ICU. At least I feel that way. They do a lot more.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's where we had a lot of our help from.
Is Dun 4 kind of the same setup as surgical ICU? Have you been over there?
Yeah, I've been to surgical. No, I mean, the rooms are smaller. Yeah, I guess you could kind of say that. The nurse station is right in the front. Um, well, no, because right when you walk into the unit, that's where the supply room is.
Mm-hmm.
Nurse station is like a little bit further in, but it would be similar, I guess, to
I'm just gonna walk over
surgical.
there and be like, I'm here just to see your layout. They're gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I've
it's a
been,
little different than it looks like the floor. I mean, it's
yeah.
because Dunn is an older building compared to
Mm-hmm.
Walter.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's the older style layout of how things were done.
Yeah, I've been kind of trying to explore this idea that I think has popped up with a few people that like their accessibility to one another and like just how distant they are in CV like kind of affects them asking for help or receiving help because everyone is really spaced out.
Yeah, that's really the biggest issue. Like, and especially in B pod, because like other day I was TL, or 2 weeks ago I was TL in B pod, and I was at 7 and 8,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even know what's going on in 15 and 16. Like, I have no
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah, you're
and
completely separated
this.
from everyone right there.
Yeah, and now that we have so many more travelers, it's even worse because like if you're the TL, you should be watching what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like so hard. You can only just look up at the monitor, and if they don't have an art line or something.
Mm-hmm. So,
So,
since the last time that we talked, have you noticed any differences in like your thought processes about helping other nurses?
um, I definitely think that I try to be more aware to help people even when I'm busy. But it's hard because like the last couple times I've worked, I didn't even take a lunch because I was so busy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something I definitely try to be aware of since I was like saying, oh, well, I've complained, I made a comment that I didn't feel like I was getting enough help. So I try to make sure that I also make myself available to people, just as much as I would want someone to make themselves available to me.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
How do you feel like whenever you help other nurses? Like what kind of emotions run through your head?
um, I feel like I'm doing something good, like being part of it. I'm like being a team player, and I'm contributing to the greater good of
Mm-hmm.
things.
How about like whenever other nurses help you? Like what kind of feelings do you have?
I feel like sometimes I feel like depending on who it is,
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like I'm asking too much of them because some people they make like faces or whatever or like sigh or whatever. It's like, oh. But for the most part. people don't, they just want to help, I will
Mm-hmm.
say.
So how might that like differ if from receiving help from like other healthcare personnel like RTs or the intensivist or mid levels?
I typically don't ask like an intensivist for help unless it's a question.
Uh-huh.
I'll ask the RT if they're in there. They're usually pretty helpful, like, because you're not really using them a lot to do stuff. It's more of like asking them to do their job
Mm-hmm.
if I'm asking them for any type of help. So
Right.
they're always receptive to that. I've never had an RT, make me feel like, why'd you call me for
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
So
They're very specific like task that they need to
yeah,
do.
they can do. So, you're not going to call them for your drip, you'll call them for your vent and breathing treatments and such things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
they're usually pretty good about like just doing their job, not arguing back with you.
Yeah. I don't know like how much y'all use mobility on the night shift, but do you ever like feel bad for asking them if you are able to use them?
No. Well, those people are the least helpful to me.
Mm-hmm.
um, I've asked them so many times to help me get my patient up, and they just I don't I think I've used them once
Yeah.
because they are every time I've asked, I feel like maybe they're like mentally not at work when they're already there. They're like, oh well, my shift doesn't really start till day shift gets here, so like they'll be sitting around. I'm like, hey, can you guys help me get my patient up? And they'll look at me, and then like 5 minutes later, they're still sitting there. And then one time, I asked Kurt, I think, to help me get my patient up, and he was only there by himself. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll be right there. And he never showed up. And like 15 minutes later, he walks by my patient's room. And I'm like, don't worry, I already did it. And I was just like, and I've seen Christina like get upset because they're not like, you guys clock in, you're clocked in, just start working.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they are on day shift, but that's been my experience. I don't even ask them anymore. So,
Okay. What do you think like some reasons for another nurse might be to offer you help?
a lot of times I've seen people offer me help if they want to learn something or have a question for me. So, like, if they have like a question, but I'm doing in the middle of doing something, they'll like say, "Oh, I'll help you," so they can like talk to me as they're helping me, I
Yeah.
guess. So, and getting their question answered.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like most nurses try to seek out like those learning opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they like aren't set in their ways like some people are on our unit.
Yeah,
And I think that's a good
definitely.
quality to have. If you were a nurse in that position, like, do you see yourself actively like wanting to help people as an opportunity to learn?
Yeah, for sure. I think that any chance you get to be like immersed in this environment, like besides your patients, because like, for instance, I know, like the other day I was TL and I had one bed open and I had these two people who pretty much just got off orientation within the last couple months, and they both wanted the empty bed. And um, I can't give both of them, so I just chose one.
Mm-hmm.
And the one who didn't get it, she was just like, I just wanted a chance to like, admit and just, learn and see like just getting the routine down of what we do to put the patient in the room. And I was like, well, you can come help.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the patient got here, I went and grabbed her and I was like, hey, come help us admit this patient.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that whenever people get an admission or there's something critical, everybody wants to help.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to help because that's the opportunity to learn. When it's like something like, oh, I need you to help me clean my patient, they're like, ah. But people still help you, but no one's running to help you at that
Yeah,
point.
they enjoy that less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like you can tell people the process of how things work, but most people learn by that hands-on.
Hands on. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
So at this point, what do you think the characteristics of a helpful nurse are?
I think you have to want to treat people the way you want to be treated. So I think you have to understand that if you want help, you should help. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a characteristic. You understand this is a reciprocal thing, a
Mm-hmm.
reciprocated thing. So that's one. I think also you have to just want to be part of a team and not have an individualistic mindset. You have to be like a cohesive, we're all here to survive this shift together, and we're only going to survive if we have help. I also think helpful nurses have to want to be approachable, because that's the other thing. Like, you might want to ask this person for help because they're the only person around, but they might always have like a stank attitude, and it's just like, I don't really want to ask that person. Yeah. So you have to want to be helpful, and you also have to want to be approachable. So it works both ways.
Yeah.
I think also you should be somewhat like knowledgeable about whatever it is that you're doing, that you're being asked help of. And I just think that you have to just have the desire in yourself to want to serve somebody else. Sure. And not benefit in any way. And I say that because sometimes we don't have floats. So then you have just your buddy who's next to you, and he has his own patients. You have your own patients. And so if you start to think, oh, well, I'm busy with my patient, I don't have time to help you, that's selfish, because we're all busy. So it's more of like just this desire to want to help and say, okay, I can't come right now, but I'll be there in a second, but it still shows that you have the intention to want to do something helpful, and not just be like, oh, that's your problem, because it's going to be you in maybe an hour, maybe the next day, so you're going to need help. So just understanding that those who help get help.
This idea of reciprocal help is interesting to me, because it makes me think of maybe some of the more senior nurses who may be more standoffish and cold, is I use lightly. I feel like a lot of them don't think that they need help. So do you think that affects them offering help to other people because they're like, well, I don't need it?
Absolutely. I agree. I think people who've been there a long time and kind of have their routine down and know how to get around on their own, I don't think they offer help as much unless they're TL. Yeah. And I think people don't seek those people out because it's like, oh, she's older. I'll just go ask a newer nurse.
Yeah.
For this.
Because they're more
but
approachable.
I ask the older nurses for help that's not physical. Like if I have questions or want to do something, that's when I'll ask them. But when I need physical help, like moving a patient, I'll go get somebody else. You kind of pick and choose who you ask for what.
Sure.
So.
Do you think that there's any reasons for a nurse not to help another nurse? Whether you specifically or other people?
I've never... only time I've ever not helped somebody when they ask me is if I was literally in the middle of doing something and I'm just not physically available. In the time that I got mad with that one nurse, but that was the only time I ever was like, no. But for the most part, I think we all should put our feelings aside. This is not personal.
Yeah.
It's a job, and I think sometimes I have seen people, oh, I'm not helping her. She, you don't like this person, whatever. And it's just like, first of all, this is a job. Nobody here is my best friend. So nobody here is going to make me hate them, make me love them. I haven't developed relationships with anyone that way. So for you to and I have seen that before just in my career, as a nurse, maybe not necessarily here, but on my other floor, I've seen that where people don't like someone, so they don't help them. And it's just like, it's not about you, it's about the patient,
Exactly.
So no, I don't think that there's ever really a valid reason why you should not help somebody if they ask you, unless you just can't or you don't know the answer.
So on the flip side of that, have there been any times where you wish that someone were to just come and offer you help, or you maybe asked for help but you never received it?
In my career or
CV specific?
No, I can't think of one that sticks out in my brain.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I can't think of one where nobody was available to help me. Maybe there's been times where I asked a couple of people the same question and they really didn't give me a valid answer, but it's more because they didn't know and they were like, oh, well, just go ask your mid-level. I can say the people who I feel like sometimes are the least helpful are the mid-levels. I forgot to mention that because sometimes you'll ask them for background or like an understanding of a question, and
They just don't
some
have
of them,
time.
yeah, they don't have time, or they don't have the patience,
Mm-hmm.
or they're looking at you like you should know this. It's a lot like of that, and that I don't like. That is one of the reasons I think a lot of people want to leave. They don't feel the communication is the best with the mid levels and even the intensivists, and you get a lot of like conflicting information. Like mid level might say this, the intensivist might say that, virtual might say this. So that's very unhelpful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would have to say out of all the people who I think of, if we're talking about the whole unit, not just the nursing staff, the mid levels at times, and it's just like one or two, can be the least helpful as far as you trying to gain knowledge
Yeah.
about something.
Do you think they approach those situations from like a position of
Authority.
superiority?
Superiority, yes.
Yeah.
And I think also to authority, like, well, I told you to do this, so just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, why are you questioning me? That type of thing. Like, they don't look at it as taking the opportunity to educate and inform. They look at it as I'm
I already
in
solved this
charge.
problem.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Okay.
So,
That's interesting in a whole nother study, I think.
I know, right? That
um,
hierarchy.
yeah. What do you like do or say to let other nurses know that you need help?
I'll just call them,
Yeah.
or inform them, hey, I'm going to be doing this in like 5 minutes. Can you come in here? Just give them the heads up.
Mm-hmm. Do you like, are your requests for help like direct? Like, I need help with this task, or is it like, hey, do you have a moment to help me?
Um, Usually I'm pretty like direct and just letting them know what they're coming in the room for, so you can like mentally prepare, or so you can say, oh, I don't have that much time. You might want to get somebody else. So I'll be like, hey, I need to clean my patient. Can you help me? Like, I'm not that vague, but I have had people do that to me and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, can you help me turn? And you go in there and you're doing a whole bath. And it's like, I was just coming in here for like a minute,
Yeah.
but you end up being in there for like 15.
Mm-hmm.
That's annoying. I wish people would be more, like you said, direct about what it is that they want sometime, just so you can mentally prepare or say, hey, I actually don't have that much time. I have to go do something, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Are there any ways that you implicitly ask for help? That you, I mean, whenever you like communicate implicitly, sometimes you aren't exactly aware of it, like your nonverbal cues and stuff. But can you think of any ways that you might ask for help without directly saying it, or, explicitly saying that you need help with something?
Oh, well, sometime I'll stand in the middle of the hallway. Like if I literally just need like a pull up or a sign off, I'll be like, hey, so and so, like down the hall, can you?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make like a hand gesture of what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's a sign off, I'll be like, can you, or can you like, I'll do this if you need to. So I guess I'm not being super direct, and somebody might be like, what does she need? But for the most part, I think people know what everybody's hand gestures mean. Like
Yeah.
typically, those are the two ones that we use. But no, I can't really think of any other way. Or if you call someone on Vocera, you'd be like, hey, are you busy? Like you said, but I usually say, hey, are you busy? And then I let them say yes or no. And then I tell them what I still need. I don't just go, hey, are you busy? I need help.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I could see a time where you wouldn't want to like for instance, the other day, what day was that? I needed like a male type of person, Joy or male, like that level. And I was like, hey, can you just come in here? I need you here for a second. Like I didn't want to say it over the Volsera in case she was in a place where everybody could hear what our conversation was about. So sometimes I am not, as direct if I want to be more like, incognito about it,
Sure.
So or I don't want to scare the patient.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's something going on and I want to be like, hey, this person's bleeding or something like that. I'll be like, hey, can you just come in here? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the only time I will be like less,
Just a little vague.
yeah, a little bit more vague. Yeah.
I think the people that sit at that front desk kind of do that too whenever they have like a issue with the family and they'll just like call the charge nurse and be like, can you come up to the front? And typically, if like a charge gets a call like that, they are able to understand that there's like a need for them whenever that type of language is used.
Yeah.
Like, do you experience that same thing?
Yeah, when I'm TL more than anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But otherwise, not so much, like just being on the floor and taking care of my own patients.
Okay. Just a couple more questions and then we'll be done. How do you experience other nurses asking you for help? Is it the same way that you ask them?
You mean as far as like their verbiage and their
Yeah.
tone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've never had someone be like aggressive with it. Like demanding my help. People are pretty understanding that they're kind of inconveniencing you to a degree,
Mm-hmm.
especially if there is no TL. Um, but yeah, I've never had someone be rude.
How often though do you like experience them kind of misleading you in the
What they need.
amount of task help that they need?
Not very often. That doesn't happen very often. Most people are pretty aware that you are helping them and
Yeah.
they don't want to take up most of your time. I feel bad when I am using, like the other day, it was super busy for me. I had both floats helping me intermittently, and then I had people in the pod coming to help me. And so then there's a point where you feel like, oh, I'm using these people too much,
Mm-hmm.
But I did need the help. So um, it's it's like a double-edged sword. Like I'm aware that you are helping the entire unit as floats, but at the same time, like right now I need help and you're available.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell them, you know, I can do this by myself if you need to go. Like I always try to be very aware of the time I'm using for them. And just, they'll be like, oh, well, I can help you with this. And so then I kind of let them decide if they need to leave or if they're actually available. I don't say, okay, I need you to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. I don't just go and start listing a bunch of stuff. Like I try to be aware, okay, I really just need help for these few things because I can't do them by myself, but everything else I could probably do by myself.
Yeah.
And then they'll decide, oh, no, I can help you with the rest of it. Like I kind of like let them lead as so I can be aware of, how much time I'm using. And I also think that most people try to do that with me as well. And we all try to do it with each other.
Yeah.
The only people who I think might not really think about that are some of the older nurses, just because like a Sharon, for instance, Sharon doesn't help a lot in my opinion, but she does need help a lot. So, you'll go in her room and she'll be like, okay, I need this, this, and this, and this, and this, and whatever. But she doesn't. I don't feel like she like monopolizes one person so much. She just uses. I feel like when there's flow, she uses them a lot. But she's also somebody who I think at times doesn't ask for help at all. So it just depends on how bad her patients are that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a factor in everyone's need for help, but definitely more so in some people than others.
Yeah.
Do you have like any mutual understanding with other nurses? Like, do you see them, again, implicitly asking you for help, maybe by nonverbal cues where you like have established this type of connection and they like signal to you and you're like, okay, I know exactly what that means?
Not really. I haven't developed a second language with anyone like that.
Okay. All right. Are there any final like thoughts or anything you'd like to add to the study?
No, I think that it's been interesting to think about this concept of help. I don't think it's one that you really like analyze like this, like, oh wow, like this is a problem, or oh wow, this actually is a good thing. But as a nurse, it's so necessary in our jobs because we're so physical and critical. And I never really thought about how easy or not easy it is to get help until this study. So I think it's good, and I think hopefully the people who've participated can make them more aware of this in their own brains and when they're at work as well.
Yeah,
So
awareness has been, I think, my number one common theme. So
yeah,
that's good.
that's good.
All right, thanks, Alex, for your time and your contribution. And then I'll just get like one more gift card form signed by you, and then we'll get that second gift card sent to you.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.